And by the way, Trump, this country was founded on the idea that no person is a king. That there's no one. The very fundamental founding premise of the United States is no one is above the law until the Supreme Court. The first time in our history there exists a person above the law, and that's Donald Trump. He cannot commit a crime acting as president. It's just staggering.
Hey, James, there are so many big, mostly troubling stories this week. A possible government shutdown looming, huge decisions awaiting the Supreme Court that has rolled over for Trump so far, and the White House is unable to lie its way out of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Let's start with the government funding possible shutdown, although the deadline may be delayed with a short-term fix. Unlike in March, when we both thought Schumer was right, that was not the time for Democrats to force a shutdown. They need to make it tough this time. They have to come in with conditions or they won't provide any votes. And there ought to be some non-negotiable demands that Republicans need them to pass the funding bill, and they can't roll over. They first demand has to be to extend the Obamacare subsidies that otherwise expire in December. No compromise. Extend them as is. Straight up. Otherwise, 3.3 million people lose health care coverage and premiums go up for all the others. This is not the time. You can't rewrite the awful Medicaid bill that the Republicans passed this July, but you can address some provisions. Rural hospitals already are closing or cutting services. The Republicans added $50 billion over 10 years to try to stave off some of that. That's not nearly enough. KFF, the great research firm, says it'll cost rural hospitals $137 billion. At least give another $50 billion. Also, there are over 1 million veterans on food stamps. They could get hurt. Make sure they are held harmless by this. And what you don't want to do is go into extraneous measures. This is not the venue to go after Trump's authoritarian outrages, but make it mainly about the cost of living. And I think I think the Democrats have a winning hand this time, James.
I agree, they do. Also, you got to be careful what you ask for, because right now the economic numbers are not good. And the
Right.
forecast, if you listen to anybody, I don't know. I mean, economic forecasting is a very dicey thing, but the forecasts are not very good. And if I'm a Republican, and everybody's going to blame them that Trump got everything he wanted. If you go too far, and if I'm them, I want to be able to blame the Democrats for some of the bad economy. Right now, I can't. So you have to be Don Vito Corleone here. You have to make them an offer they can't refuse. All right, that's going to be the trick here. But you don't want to make something that they have any justification not to do it. And I think the thing that you suggested are top tier ideas. I kind of like the idea of 125,000 additional cops. Okay, but
Me too.
well, we can flow in and out. I mean, we can come up with more ideas. The one thing that's not going to happen is they're just going to pass a clean bill or whatever it is. They're not going to do that. There's no appetite for it, and the Democrats would be in open revolt. And they know that. I don't think they need to be told that. But I agree. But, I would put one kind of, quote, non-traditional Democratic thing in the mix. I think it's anything to do with cost of living, and I think you're spot on about the subsidies for health insurance. But we can flush all of this out. I'm working on a piece, and I'm reminded of the Ecclesiastes, the Old Testament book. For everything, there's a time. There's a rhythm.
Exactly.
March was a time to do one thing.
Right.
September, October is a time to do another thing.
Right.
And politics, like the best jazz in the world, it has a rhythm, and you have to flow into the rhythm. And I do 100% agree with you. I don't think there's any appetite to roll over, but I don't think we should be so excessive in our demands that we allow them any escape for the justifiable blame that they're being held for this increasingly unimpressive economy.
I concur, and standing up for health care benefits, standing up for rural hospitals, standing up for veterans, and I agree with you, more cops. I think that's a very good menu, and I think it fits your criteria, and it puts them in a squeeze.
Yes, and we're going to continue talking about this because we have things to flush out. But I do think we're limited by the kind of rule of threes here. You don't want a laundry list because it's got to be something that you can really explain. And I just hope, my fondest hope is, I think we can do this. I think it's a good issue for. I hope that the leadership in the House and the Senate designate certain people to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and
Yes.
only certain people. I just not everyone is the same level of communicator. And I'm going to bring something up because I know you want to talk about this as I do. This thing that happened last night in Virginia has got their fucking attention.
Uh,
I can assure you.
another big Democratic win.
Yeah, but not a win. 75-25. Now according to Cook PVI, it's a plus 18D that we won by 50. I think it's a little bit more. It was kind of 62. Traditionally comes in like 62-38. The governor's race, presidential race, traditionally. This came in at 75-25. The Republicans are not voting. And anything that we can do to demoralize him is really good politics. And we're seeing that in special after special after special. I'm not sure that it's just Democrats. It's easy to just say, oh, the Democrats are just agitated. They're coming out. I think the Republicans, I think as big a part of this story is they're down. And we can make them get further down.
Yeah, and if they play their hand well in this funding bill, little Mikey Johnson is going to have to pass a bill with as many Democratic votes as Republican votes, and that'll drive his caucus crazy. That'll drive him crazy. He has to beg Master Don to come to his support, but it's going to create real ruptures within that Republican Party if it's done right.
Keep the pressure on. They're
Right.
feeling it. Okay.
Right.
No, it's now. It's like do it so much anymore. But you and I remember the basketball fans when you had the full court press.
Right.
Challenge them on the throw in pass. I mean, challenge them at every point because they're confused. They're dazed. They know what's happening to them. They're not. They may not be the smartest people in the world, but they do have primitive political survival instincts. They're aware.
Yeah, they sure do. James, let me switch to the Republican court. Speaker Hakeem Jeffries called the Supreme Court this week corrupt. Normally, I'd say, hey, that's over the top. You can't say that now. I mean, what they've done in the last year, going back to that immunity decision in June of 24, has been partisan and really just terribly dangerous. And this week, they basically said, hey, if ICE thugs want to racially profile targets, great. Brown people are suspects. Let's go looking for all the brown people. And this is a really dangerous time. And the courts essentially are doing their jobs around the country until you reach the Supreme Court, which acts more like a Trump political action committee. And I think looking ahead, are they going to uphold a judge's decision that the administration has no right to dismiss a Federal Reserve Board member on specious grounds in an effort to control the Fed? Or will they bow to the Don's wishes? And Trump's tariffs, which courts have slapped down, are going to be a real dilemma for these Republican judges. I remember Walter Dellinger, the great Walter Dellinger, used to say, you can count on this court to vote with the Republicans. You can count on them to vote with business. But a little bit of a conflict now. Business and Trump are on the different sides of this tariff issue, or many businesses are. So I don't know what they're going to do on that. But I got to tell you, I think the standing of this Supreme Court, the respect for the Supreme Court, is the lowest I've ever seen.
Well, that's undoubtable, and I think both. It's fair to call them corrupt. You look at what Clarence Thomas did. You look at what Alito did. You look at what Gorsuch did. You look again John Roberts, his wife was a headhunter for a law firm that recruited people that practiced for the Supreme Court. I can't imagine a bigger conflict than that. But so the corruption label would hold. But I think more than corrupt, they're just nakedly and aggressively partisan.
Mm-hmm.
I think when something comes before them, is this good for Trump and the Republican Party? Then we're gonna do it this way. So the idea that you can stop any brown person, I don't know what the fuck that means, okay? And how do you know that they're so into themselves, they think that anybody that's not white is Hispanic. I don't know what. So people of Indonesian, I don't know, Indian, Brazilians, anybody that's not white, you can stop them without probable cause for no reason. I mean, I don't know where in the Constitution it says your skin color is probable cause. All right, there's just that in the law around what constitutes probable cause or not is very extensive. It's very, very. There's an extensive body of law, and they just threw it all out. Fuck it.
They did. I mean, Kavanaugh claimed, well, that was just one of the factors. Bullshit. That was what they were doing. That's exactly what they were doing. Kavanaugh said, fine, go ahead.
Again, Brett Kavanaugh was the chief leaker in charge of the Ken Starr operation. I'm serious. I mean, they called him Steno Sue Schmidt. That guy has leaked more grand jury material in his life than any 10 people. They don't take a case, okay, where they say, well, this is it. They're stopping people, and let's go back and let's study the law. Maybe we need to modify it a little bit. Let's look at the legislative history. Let's look at this. No. They're like, okay, Trump wants to stop anybody based on skin. Okay, fine, highball, do it. Put troops in the street. We don't care. Stop who you want. And by the way, this country was founded on the idea that no person is a king. That there's no one. The very fundamental founding premise of the United States is no one is above the law until the Supreme Court. The first time in our history there exists a person above the law, and that's Donald Trump. He cannot commit a crime acting as president. It's just staggering.
It is, and if they don't understand that they have emboldened him to do all of these awful things, and I guess the answer is, James, as you've said often, they just don't care. They just don't care.
You ever thought that they think it might be in the interest of their political party that there's something like a race war in the United States? Do you think it's possible that in the back of their minds, they're trying to egg this on? I don't know, but their behavior certainly doesn't exclude this possibility.
Yeah.
You know, and by the way, there's a lot of people that think that would be a good idea. We could take care of this problem once and for all.
Yeah, no, I'm afraid you're right.